What up, what up, what up? I'm here with my man, Andrew Lee, the Andrew Lee. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Is?
Man, I'm doing fantastic, brother. We've got hundreds of people signed up for this, so I want to honor our time, but also give us maybe another minute as people hop on. So Sylvia, welcome. Tyler, welcome. Victor, Wes, thank you guys for joining us. Sean and Ryan, thank you for joining us today. My man Raphael, always a pleasure. Paige and Omar, welcome, welcome. So team, we've got more and more people kind of pouring in. I love it. I love it for our Friday fun day, time to de-stress, time to roll out. So we are going to have some fun today, team. So a couple of logistic things, house cleaning items. So I'll kind of be your presenter today. My name is Israel Allen, Director of Education for PTA Global. I am joined here with my friend and counterpart, Andrew Lee from
What's going on,
HyperIce,
everyone?
the HyperIce. He'll be our content expert today related to HyperIce. Again, questions. If you have questions, there is a question box. We're going to be fielding those at the end of today's call. It'll be first come, first serve. So as you start to have those questions, start to type those in because we won't have an unlimited amount of time. So we'll only be able to answer those questions kind of first come, first serve. Welcome, Louise. Welcome, Marie and Marianne. Thank you for joining us today. Also, team, if you see the link to today when you joined, there's handouts. So you've got a handout from us, PTA Global, of our daily readiness observation. We're going to cover that on today's call. You'll also have a handout of kind of the mechanism of the what and the how, right, from HyperIce on how to apply some of these strategies. So a really cool handout there, nice little colorful pictures. You guys did a great job on that. I love little visuals like that because it's easy to share with clients too. So thank you so much. As we get kicked off, I've got two quick polls just because I think it's important that we know who's on this call. And so what I'd like to do is see who is US based and who is international. So if you do me the honor of answering that. These webinar series has been amazing so far. Just so you know, this is being recorded. It will be housed on PTA Global/events. All of our webinars thus far have been housed there. And so you can actually go back in there and you can access any of these webinars on demand. So pretty cool. So it looks like 80% are US, 20% are international. Thank you for your vote there. The other thing I'd like to know is who on the call is a personal trainer, gym operator, or maybe even a client. We get a big mix in these webinars. We get a lot of people from different walks of life joining us. So it looks like we have mostly personal trainers, about a 75-25 split. 30% gym operator, love that. 35%. So we actually have quite a few gym operators on the call. So some people looking for some solutions coming out of COVID-19 on how to get their members, clients, and team engaged in the right way. Man, I love that. Man, I love that. About 4% clients, 35% gym operators, and about 60% personal trainers. So we've got quite a few gym owners and operators. So for the owners and operators on the call, we'll be able to speak to some things that are really going to be relevant to your heart and the things that are going to be important to you. But we're definitely not going to neglect the personal trainers on the call that I know you guys want to geek out on a little bit of science and some strategies, right, to meet your clients where they need to be met. That's one of our PTA Global isms there. All right. So hopefully you found access to your handouts. You're ready to rock and roll as I am, and we're going to kick off this call. So very quickly, I just want to give a quick little rundown on hormones, right? So owners and operators, don't feel like you have to have a PhD to be on this call. This is going to be a quick, high-level overview. We're going to keep it super simple. Cortisol is a stress hormone. Cortisol is important in the body. We need cortisol. It's not a bad thing, right? It does stuff like regulate, I don't know, heart rate. That's kind of important, right? Homeostasis, fancy word of, saying our balance in the body, right? Our energy in, energy out, water in, water out, all of that balance, a lot of times is going to be regulated by these hormones, right? And so cortisol is what we call that stress hormone. And for us, we know that this is going to be really important to manage cortisol. One of the ways we do that is through exercise, right? We have an outlet through exercise, and so we're able to manage that. If we don't manage that, COVID-19, I've been stuck in the house for 2 months, or I am so worried mentally on what's going to happen next. Where's my next paycheck coming from? When are the gyms going to open up? When am I going to be able to do deadlifts again? Right? So whatever your mental stress is, if you hang on to that too long, it is toxic to the body. And that's where chronic stress comes in, team. That's where chronic stress comes in. So now we talk about, man, if I've got chronic stress, right, too much mental anxiety and not some positive outlets to let that out, or positive ways to balance out that stress, i.e. sleep, right? Really important there. Then it's going to improve my mental performance, right? So so now I'm not going to be able to think clearly. It's going to suppress my thyroid. So my energy levels are going to be impacted. My sleep levels are going to be impacted. And now the flywheel continues, because if my sleep is impacted, right, then my stress levels are high, so on and so on. You see how that works? So not only things like that, but blood pressure issues and ding, 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 immune function. Kind of important to have pretty good immune function right now, right? Don't want to be going to Walmart on a compromised immune system. And so again, how can we provide solutions? We educate, we empower, and we go out there and we impact, right? So part of the purpose of this is to educate you, because you can't give what you don't have. You can't teach what you don't know. So whether you're a gym owner and operator and you're going to share this with your team, whether they're on the call or you're going to share this with them later and be like, hey guys, this is stuff you guys need to know, because you need to share it with our members and clients. Or you're a personal trainer on the call and you're like, man, how am I going to get my clients to come back? How am I going to get them reignited? How am I going to get them to feel safe again? Well, the first part is you got to be the expert, right, on what's going on, and then develop some specific strategies that are different now that you have that you didn't have before. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. All right. And so again, you can see here on the slide, there's a myriad of challenges, a ton of challenges that people are going to face when they have high levels of cortisol, chronic stress. Okay. So here's a quick little diagram for the purposes of today, right? If you go back to some of our other webinars, we've talked about the aspects around immune function and increased inflammation. But for the purposes of today, we're really going to slant towards the side of this grid that talks about dehydrating connective tissue. How are we going to get people moving better again, right? How are we going to get them to feel confident in movement? Because guess what? Motion drives emotion. If I don't move well, I don't feel well, and vice versa. Emotion drives motion. If I don't feel well, I don't move well. And I haven't been feeling well for 2 months, and now I'm going to come in and not move well, which means I'm not going to feel well, which means I'm not going to have a positive association chemically with exercise and fitness and the confidence to return back to my gym and start coming in again. Ding, ding, ding. Owners and operators, you get me? And we don't have to be overly scientific to understand that. This is behavior change, right? This is how people create behaviors and habits based upon chemical reactionary associations, right? Was it enjoyable? Did it feel good? Okay, cool, I want to do it more, right? So now let's look at the mechanism, dive in a little deeper, literally.
Hey, can I jump in here for just a second?
Please, Andrew.
Okay, we are still only seeing the poll on the screen, and we're not able to see the slides or the video right now.
My man, thank you so much.
No problem.
So let's take it back a little bit, team. That's the challenge sometimes with GoTo is.
Appreciate it.
You bet, my man. All right, team, so let's go back just a couple of slides just so you can see it. Just so we're all on the same page. A couple people were driving with super dark shades on and you could barely see it. And you were like, all right, I hear you, it sounds good, but I don't see what you're actually trying to get me to see. So let's go back. Cortisol, stress, right? Impact on immune system, And with chronic stress, right, that's going to lead to a ton of challenges, a ton of issues. So you can see those on the screen now, right? All good, thumbs up. And so as we were talking about, right, a ton of different issues. In the past webinars, we've really zeroed in on kind of the immune function side of things, the inflammatory response side of things. For today's time, team, we're really going to be shifting over into the movement side of things. That's really where HyperIce is going to come in for us, because we know that motion drives emotion and emotion drives motion. So we're really going to be looking at closer to the dehydrate connective tissue kind of side of this diagram. And we're going to dive into that a little deeper. Okay, so think about dehydration. It's not just about water, it's about movement, it's about viscosity, it's about fluid transmission. And so again, if I've been sitting, high stress, probably not drinking near enough water, but definitely not moving enough, right? Things are going to get a little sticky, a little gunky, and I'm not going to move better. If I don't move better, I'm not going to feel better, right? I'm going to let Andrew expand upon this a little bit more, because over 30% are gym owners and operators. I don't want to get too in depth into the fascia here, right? But again, if you want more information and you really want to geek out, our exercise and stress management and myofascial lines content and our exercise and stress management and our behavior change and exercise course, you guys could have a field day and geek out on movement, right? And hydration and fascia and connective tissue, myofascial lines, and all of the things that happen physiologically, right, within the body here, okay? Exercise and stress management is also going to highlight the difference between your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system and how to trigger more of the positive, right, hormones in the body, and kind of the de-stress and rest mechanism, which would be our parasympathetic, which we're going to get into here shortly. So again, just so you know, there's more information in some of those courses, and we'll be following up with you after today to give you some steps in the right direction there. Okay, so I think about it in this term. If any of you guys can see on my screen, that's actually not me, in case you were wondering. For anyone over the age of 30, you probably know this is Beavis and Butthead, right? For anyone in their 20s, you're kind of like using Google right now, like, who, Beavis and Butthead? This is back when MTV actually showed music videos, guys, instead of 25 episodes of Real World. So this is what I think about. There was actually a funny scene in this, and I think one of the things that they would always say is like, I need TP for my bunghole. And now I think about COVID-19. There are so many people that are going out and getting TP for, okay, well, we're going to move on, but this is what I think about when I think about people that have chronic stress. They're freaking out. And whether you can see it because they look like they're freaking out inside, you know that there may be a ton of mechanisms going on. It's like, can you see if someone has high blood pressure? Can you see if someone has high cholesterol? Usually not, right? But you know that it's happening because you test and assess, right? So it's the same thing. People may feel like, oh yeah, I'm not stressed, I don't know, but unless you assess this, you're never really going to know, team, right? So you're either guessing or you're assessing. So now what if your client comes into the gym, right, and you feel like they're probably stressed, but they're like, no, I'm fine, I'm just happy to be here. Well, okay, so how do you actually quantify that? Because that's not really going to give you a lot to work with. So we need something that can help us to quantify if a client comes in more physically, emotionally, mentally stressed, right? What do we do? How do we change our program design, right? What are we going to do differently? I hope we do something differently, knowing what we know now. And so our key tool here, team, and PTA Global is known for a couple things. One, we're known for our tools and systems that are going to drive behavior and drive results. We're also known for our ability to take an average personal trainer and make him far above average, the best of the best, by giving them these systems that allow them to connect with clients and members on a higher level and allow them to take complex topics, right? Like parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, but make it really simple for them and simple for the member and client, right? So this tool here is our daily readiness observation, one of many tools we have here at PTA Global. And as you'll look at my screen, we're going to bypass step 3, and we're just going to focus on the 3 steps here, step 1, step 2, and step 4 of this sheet. And what this is telling me is I'm going to ask a few questions in each bucket. That's going to allow me to figure out on a scale of 1 to 3, where are they at on their stress level in each of these buckets. 1 being good, kind of like a golf score. The lower score you get, the better. Okay, so 1 is good, 3 is bad. Okay, so just so you know how that works. Okay, so for instance, I'll give you an example. How many hours of sleep did you get last night? Do you feel adequately rested? Okay, I got amazing sleep last night, so my score on that question would be 1. But let's say I answered a 3 on question 2, step 1, and then answered maybe a 2 on question 3 of step 1. My aggregate score is going to be a 2, and we call that our bucket score. Okay, so that would be that example. You'd follow that example for step 2 and step 4, right? And then basically you're going to sum up those totals. So the highest score you can get here is a 9, which would be you're really, really stressed. We definitely need to do something on both the lifestyle, the physical, and the mental emotional bucket to solve for that. Otherwise, if we don't, we could be doing more harm than good for today's workout. You follow me? And so again, we got to know before we go, team. And so if we've got some remedies to say, okay, I know, Mrs. Jones, that you're a score of 3 on your physical bucket. That means that you've got some additional tightness, soreness, something like that, right? Some pain, right? So I need to solve for that. Okay, so that's really where some of the strategies come in to be able to do that. And so here is going to be your strategy guide to say, okay, if I have a bucket score, right, of let's say 2 to 3 in each bucket and an overall score of anywhere between, let's say, 6 to 9, right? Let's say it'd be 4 to 6, 7 to 9, right? Then I'm going to apply these specific strategies. I'll give you an example, okay? If I've got a high score on, let's say, physical, right? I'm very sore, I'm not moving well, my low back is achy. Okay, some easy, what we call bang for our buck, some easy strategies I can do. Guess what? Take the intensity down, right? Duh, we know that. But sometimes knowing is not doing. So do we do that, right? So instead of 90% intensity, maybe we take that to a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10. And so we're constantly asking the client, where are you at right now? Scale of 1 to 10. All right, I want you closer to 7 to 8 as opposed to 9 to 10. So let's go ahead and take this intensity down because that bucket score is full. And you may not say that bucket score is full, but you're going to know that, right? So just because you know it doesn't mean you have to say it, okay? You're the expert. Mental and emotional, right? If they score high on that bucket, maybe you choose less volume because volume is going to overtax, right, their nervous system. And if they have a high level of stress, we wouldn't want to do that. So maybe we do that. Let's say lifestyle, right? Lifestyle. Maybe they have a high, bucket score on lifestyle, and maybe we're just going to give them more rest, right? Maybe more recovery. So instead of 30 seconds rest that we typically do, maybe we're going to give them a minute rest, right? And let's get crazy for a minute. Let's just say during that rest is actually active rest. So we're going to give them a little bit more soft tissue work, right? You'll see that under bucket of physical bucket, and mental and emotional. So let's say we're going to do a little bit more tissue work on the front end, maybe on the back end, but why not do a little tissue work intermittently, right? So maybe they need a little bit of work on their calves, and maybe you're going to do that in between their, chest and back sets that they're doing, because you're going to give them a little bit more tissue work during that rest, thus being able to accomplish an overall, right, better strategy for them. And it's data driven. You're not just guessing, you're assessing. Okay? So at the end of the day, team, here are the tools you have. It's up to you to apply these strategies. Okay, so you can see, again, low stress score, moderate stress score, what are the things we need to do? High stress score, what are the things we do? What's the tool that we're going to use? Our daily readiness observation. We need to know before we go, right? Carve out that time with the client, and ding, 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 you can actually use that as an attraction magnet to get clients re-engaged. Hey, I've got this new tool that actually assesses stress score. Stress can actually be counterproductive in immune function. I'd love to see what your stress score is today to keep you happy, healthy, and strong through this whole COVID-19 thing. Schedule your 10 to 15 minute orientation with me that we could go through this with you today. Whoa, you talk about game changer in your business, team, it's huge. And now I want to kick it over to Andrew that's going to talk about the amazing tool that is HyperIce, right? And the mechanism of being able to apply this strategy, team, when we see buckets that are full as an easy plug and play for you, okay? So with that, Andrew, I want to kick it back over to you, brother.
Thanks, Israel. Appreciate it. I think that's really important what you just mentioned too. One of the things we see a lot with some of our fitness partners are when clients do come in and they are having a particularly stressful day, or that that Dr. O score comes back high. Some of the things we can do, we'll talk about in more detail here shortly, but a lot of it is being able to kind of provide an intervention there to be able to help. Instead of hitting it hard in the gym that day, we can work on kind of recovery and rejuvenation type sessions using the HyperIce technology. And it's proven to be really successful, and clients absolutely love it. So it's exciting for us to kind of tie the two in together here. But before we jump into all that stuff, I just want to make sure that everyone on the webinar today is on the same page in terms of their understanding of who we are, who HyperIce is, and what we do. And so we'll jump right into that. So HyperIce was founded in 2011. We were actually working with professional athletes in the NBA at that time. And the first product we created was an ice compression device. And it's a neoprene compression sleeve with a built-in and detachable ice cell. So we were trying to improve upon the efficiency and the effectiveness of this icing modality that these athletes were using at the time. After a couple years of expanding that product to not just the NBA, but to the rest of the major professional sports leagues within the US, we saw a real need to expand both our product line, but also our market view. So it wasn't necessarily just ice and compression devices that people needed access to. It was a variety of things. It was vibration and percussion and standalone air compression and heat and things like that. But it also wasn't just that 0.01% of elite athletes in the world that needed access to recovery and mobility technology. We realized it was the 99.99% of us in the world, the general population and the trainers and the PT clients and all of these people that really could benefit from the same technology that these world's best athletes were using. So as we started to expand our market view a little bit, this was generally around 2014 to 2016 is where this transition happened. We really became close friends with a company called Normatec, and together we kind of co-created the recovery space within or inside the larger fitness industry to be able to reach that more general population outside of just our professional athletes. So we really grew strongly with Normatec over the last 4 to 6 years or so, and actually with a very exciting acquisition, Normatec and HyperIce are now one company as of about 2 months ago. So it's been an exciting time for us to kind of grow together and help push the boundaries of the recovery space in the fitness industry, and then for us now to be able to come together and become one entity has been really exciting. So if you go to the next slide, there we go. And then if anyone is unfamiliar with some of the products that we make, I'm sure a lot of you have probably seen the Hypervolt at some point or another, hopefully at the very least just on social media or something like that. We'll talk about each of the products in a little bit more detail, but just to give you a kind of more broad understanding of how HyperIce views the recovery industry is really with 5 pillars. And the way that we see it, these 5 pillars are ice, heat, compression, vibration, and percussion. And we create products in each of those pillars that will help people with their respective mobility, warm-up, recovery, maintenance type issues that they need help with. So to start off, we mentioned the ice compression technology, the ice compression device, which was our first product, which is at the bottom of the screen there. Again, that's ice and compression with a neoprene compression sleeve and a built-in and detachable ice cell. Our second product that we was the Viper, which is a high-intensity vibrating foam roller, 3 speeds of high-intensity vibration, and then soon to follow the Viper was the Hypersphere, which is the same technology, still 3 speeds of high-intensity vibration, but it's the mobility ball. It's about the size of a softball. And then the Hypersphere Mini, of course, which is roughly about the size of a baseball, same thing. High intensity vibration paired with mobility, or SMR. We then released the Venom line, which was our intro to heat. The Venom is a wearable device that combines compression, heat, and vibration all into one wearable. So it's going to help soothe and relax tight or sore muscles in the back, shoulders, or legs. And then last and certainly not least is going to be the Hypervolt and the Hypervolt Plus, which are our percussive massage devices. And then from the Normatec side of things, the HyperIce East, as we call them internally, is air compression, boots, hips, and arm attachments that are going to help with lymphatic flow, increasing circulation and speeding up recovery and mobility during those sessions. So when we talk about tying in the products that we just discussed into the first part of today's webinar with stress and recovery, the products are awesome, they feel great, but what are they actually doing on a more physiological level? Why are they going to help your clients feel better and perform better on a daily basis? Or if you're an owner operator, if you're part of that 35% owner operator that's with us today, how can you actually start integrating these products into your service offering for one, value add to membership, which is huge, but increase in PT sales is also huge, but the ancillary revenue from paid services and or retail sales of the products has been wildly popular in the fitness industry. So if we just really quickly dive in here to each of those 5 pillars that we just discussed and some of the benefits, ICE isn't going to be necessarily the best modality for all types of injury and recovery. It's more geared toward athletic type rehab. So it's going to help reduce inflammation, it's going to reduce swelling, and it's going to decrease the amount of pain you're feeling on that local area. On the other hand, heat is really great in one, promoting blood flow to the area that you're applying heat, but it's also, like I mentioned earlier, it's going to soothe and relax those tight and sore muscles. So if we've been sitting at our desk all day working from home in quarantine and we start to feel that nagging low back pain, it's really easy just to strap on the Venom, let it run a cycle for 20 minutes, and you're going to feel great afterwards. And then when we pair self-myofascial release with high intensity vibration and or high intensity percussion, some really cool things happen. The first is that, similar to the heat, is that we're going to promote localized blood flow, but also full body circulation, depending on the type of routine that you're doing and the way that you're using the Viper, the Hypersphere, and or the Hypervolt. You're also going to help improve range of motion on certain joints that you're looking to do that for. And then lastly is you're able to accelerate both your warm up and your recovery, because the application time, the amount of time you have to be down on the ground foam rolling, for instance, is going to be reduced because of the efficiency from the vibration and the percussion. And it's also going to reduce the amount of perceived pain that the individual, that the client is feeling when they actually foam roll. One thing we hear a lot with some of our fitness partners is clients just absolutely hate foam rolling. And really there's 2 reasons for that. The first is that it is painful. The second is that it's time consuming. And who wants to deal with that, right? So what we set out to do then was create products that would help clients get past those 2 issues that they have, in hopes that they're more likely to then stick to a regular mobility routine. And then lastly, with compression, mainly with the Normatec line that we have, like we mentioned earlier, really great for promoting circulation as well as lymphatic flow. And it's also going to help you accelerate your warm up and your recovery. And it does that by increasing your flexibility and reducing the amount of muscle fatigue you have post-workout. And then when we get into it, how can we actually apply these products in PT sessions with our clients, or from an owner operator standpoint, how can we integrate into actual services? One of the best things about our line of products is that they are so easy to integrate. I'll give you just a quick demonstration here with the Viper 2.0, again, our high intensity vibrating foam roller. If you imagine that my two forearms are my lower legs, so I'm rolling my calves right now on the ground. What we're gonna do is turn on the vibration to the desired level. Again, there are 3 levels of increasing intensity, whichever level feels best for you on any given muscle group is what we're gonna stick with. From there, we're gonna put one calf onto the roller, and we're gonna slowly roll at a rate of about 1 inch per second to find the most tender spot in the muscle. Once we find that, we're just gonna sit directly on that spot. We don't have to continue to roll back and forth or anything like that. After about 10 to 20 seconds, the initial tenderness should start to reduce. From there, we have 3 really easy progressions and regressions we can go through, all of which would be in order and as tolerated by the client. So we want to take these slowly and let people kind of work up to these. So the first progression is going to be what we call stacking. So if I have here my left calf on the Viper, this stacking progression is going to be taking my right leg and stacking that on top. So the weight of my off leg is actually going to increase the intensity for this release. The second progression, again, in order and as tolerated, is going to be what we call cross friction. So I'm slowly going to go into internal and external rotation on that tender spot for a few seconds. And last would be the pin and stretch. So I would stack, so pin that tender spot down and then stretch the muscle that's being rolled. In the case of the calves, it would be dorsiflexion of the ankle that we're trying to roll. So really easy to do right there. Another important note is that we often hear from trainers that a lot of times they see their clients rolling and it's either they're on the foam roller moving as fast as they can for 10 seconds and then they get up and think they've done an effective job foam rolling, or they're sitting there on their phone rolling both quads at the same time, texting someone. 10 minutes later they look up and again they're like, okay, I'm done, I did it. So how can we make sure that they understand the indicators of release? When is enough enough? When is too much too much? And when can I move on to the next muscle group? So 2 very easy indicators of release, things that are very easy to cue for your clients as well, would be when you feel a 50% reduction in the initial tenderness when you roll over that tender spot, when that feeling has reduced by about 50%, and or when we achieve complete relaxation of the muscle group that's being rolled. It's really cool. It almost feels like a melting sensation, but the vibration really helps to speed that process up. In general, these indicators of release will be achieved within about 30 to 90 seconds of application. So rather than about 3, maybe up to 5 minutes, depending on the individual and the muscle group that we'd be spending on a regular foam roller, we can actually get those same results in about half the time using the vibration and the percussion.
Man, I love that. So team, if you're anything like me, you've probably got a lot of questions. This would be a great time to type in those questions. I already see a few of you starting to, type in those questions. This would be a great opportunity to type in that Q&A. We're going to field that here in a few minutes. So, Andrew, that's great, man. Again, I'll just tell you personally, again, you guys didn't pay me to do this. I love my HyperIce tools, man. I use my vibration roller before and after every single run because this body was not meant to run. And so I combine a little bit of that with some of what we call our self-osteofascial enhancement. Again, that's kind of a soma technique. We cover some of that in our exercise and stress. But man, I tell you, the instant change in using a regular foam roller versus the vibration, I just love it. Because for me, time is money. And if I can get something done just as quick, right, or just as as effective, but in a shorter amount of time, then I'm all about it, man. And so again, you guys didn't pay me to say that, but I'm a huge advocate of it. Graciously, Joe gave me a foam roller like several years ago. I still have the exact same foam roller, and so it hasn't run out of batteries. It hasn't gotten less impactful. As soon as I turn that sucker on like level 3, my entire house like starts shaking. It's like, dude, that is powerful, man. Dude, for real. I remember back in the day, we used to teach with power plate, and you'd put those suckers on and you could hear it in the next room. because it was just the mechanism within there. Whatever y'all do, man, it's just so powerful. It's got so much bang for such a small buck. And so again, credit to you guys. You guys have developed an amazing product backed by science that's heavily applicable to a lot of the topics that we're covering right now. So thank you, man, for sharing that content. I know that you'll have probably some questions coming up here as I start to see those come through.
Yeah, I hope so.
Team, I get a lot of questions of the practical application around, how do I connect the dots between, this foam rolling science, is the vibration training, and then also PTA Global and kind of what you do. How do I position this to actually make money off it, right? That's usually one of the questions we get is how to take something that's really good from a service perspective and actually turn it into money. So I wanted to leave this with you. These 10 keys to client retention are in our behavior change and exercise. If you want to expand upon these, you can. But one of the first things you can do is market to existing clients. You've got clients that have been sitting way too long that you didn't have these tools before, and now you do. And so the first thing you do is, hey, I want to get you in here, this next week for a 5 to 7 minute, de-stress and mobility session, and using that HyperIce as a vehicle to do that. So now you're nurturing those existing relationships and adding value to that. Consistency. So giving them that service that they consistently, count on. So being able to do this regular and often, not just foam roll once to hit a couple of areas and then delegate that to the client, but making this a part of your programming, making it something that you do because you understand the why behind the what, I think is really important, not only in client trust, but in your ability to deliver a consistent experience, right? Follow through. You do what you say you're going to do. If you give a client a couple of exercises to do because you notice that their calves and their hip flexors are tight because you did an overhead squat assessment or whatever, and let's just say you do that for a few sessions and then all of a sudden you just don't talk about it and do it anymore, well, we're not really following through. And so we really want to make sure that we have some practical application in delivering what we promise and creating an experience for the client that's backed by science, right? Not just a workout, okay? Because they're paying us for the experience, not just the workout. We want to solicit feedback, so how is this working? How does this feel? Do you remember when we first did this on your calves versus now? Can you feel the change? How amazing is that, right? Being able to have that level of dialogue with your clients is so important for your trust. And hey, the program is working. Keep following the program, right? Being a life resource, holding them accountable outside of the gym. Are they watching Tiger King, right? Are they watching 8 seasons of Office? How much vibration training, how much foam rolling could they get in that time, team? And so it's your job to connect the dots with them outside of the gym into the practical application of the things that matter, right? And then have fun, right? Can you do again, this is my marketing brain going, but can you do a rock and roll where you for 5 minutes of their session, you play like their favorite rock songs, right? Maybe some Motley Crue or some Tesla. I don't know. Have fun, get silly with it, but make the time enjoyable where it's something that they actually look forward to doing as opposed to something that's painful that they dread. Again, rock and roll, feel free to trademark it. Everything's probably plagiarized at this point, so I just came up with that, but feel free to use it. Again, and connect. During this foam rolling time, this is where I found as a trainer to be the most beneficial time for me to connect with them on an emotional level. How's little Bobby doing, right? How's Sally doing? Hey, I mentioned that, I know you mentioned that you were having some stress at work. How's that going, right? Getting them to think maybe not specifically around what they're doing, so they're not hyper focused on the pain, and getting a slight distraction, but some really good dialogue that helps add quality to the session. Being able to be multi-purpose in your ability with, like, when you're doing the foam rolling, to hey, maybe that's some of the time that you talk about their nutrition or how are they doing with their homework or any of that stuff, right? So being able to make use of your time and create more bang for your buck. The other thing I'd say is rewarding frequency. And so the more often they do something, the better it should get. So if you have them do something on their homework days as well as with you, and you're not following up and assessing, hey, is this area moving well? Is it not? Hey, we've been foam rolling this for 2 months. Why is it still tight? Like, you should be why driven, right? To think like, okay, why is this area still tight? What is going on that maybe we're just addressing the symptom and not the cause, and then finding a way to reward the behaviors that you want to see within your clients. If they're great with foam rolling, continue to do that. Continue to re-encourage them on that. And then lastly, at the end of the day, it's deliver results. That's what you get paid to do, team. Nothing else matters if you can't get the results that your clients are paying for, because they can get poor results on their own and save money. And so at the end of the day, we want to deliver an experience. We want to keep in mind that we want to train the human being, not just the human body, because it's all of the components together that bring our value, not just the workout, not just the program design, not just the heart-to-heart conversations. It's all encompassing. So I wanted to give you some practical application following this that you can go and do some things with. But with that, before I open it up for some next steps, I want to open up for our Q&A session. Andrew, I know we've had a lot of questions come through that really are you're probably best to field, bud.
Sure.
And so I'll kind of tee those over to you. So we've got a question from Raphael, the man, the myth, the legend here. How do you recommend we pitch using Hyperbole to clients? Any best practices there, Andrew?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, hey, Ralph, thanks for tuning in. Good to hear from you today. But yeah, best practices for pitching Hyperbole to clients. Basically, when we talk about the Hyperbole and as it compares to a, we'll say, quote unquote, conventional SMR, meaning foam rolling, PVC pipe, hands-on massage, that kind of stuff. Really, the benefits of it in comparison to those are going to be, one, that for the client, it's a passive modality, meaning that they don't have to get down on the ground, they don't have to roll out or do anything. But two is kind of the benefits that we mentioned on the pillars slide when we were talking about why is vibration and percussion SMR so important. But really, it's because it's going to help them speed up their recovery, their warm up or their recovery. It's going to be a lot more efficient, meaning the application time is reduced. And lastly, it's going to be generally a good and pleasurable feeling. It's not like they're going to be writhing in pain down on the ground. And so hopefully as trainers, and this is part of the things that we talk about when we go out in the field from HyperIce and do live education, is how, as a trainer, are you educating your client while you're training them? So being able to show them and explain to them the modality as well as the benefits is really, really important. And we see a huge pickup in that from our partners with kind of that Hypervolt service-based revenue model.
I love it, man. And then kind of a bolt on to that question, obviously with gyms opening up, we're going to have clients coming back in. For owners and operators on the call, they're probably figuring, okay, well, how do I put this in the hands of my members? What do I say if they have, well, is this safe to use after COVID, if other people have been using it? Again, what would you say to a client or even an owner and operator that has some concerns with using specifically the Hypervolt, due to COVID-19? How would you navigate those waters, man?
Yeah, I think really that's kind of a two-part answer, I would say. The first is that in terms of the actual device, the Hypervolt does come with 5 interchangeable head attachments, all of which, except the ball that you can see here, are closed cell material, meaning that they're very easy to clean. All you would do is take a spray and a rag or a standard gym wipe that off, wipe the handle off, everything. It's very easy to sanitize the actual product. So we don't have concerns so much there if it's one unit that's being passed around the gym. The second part of that too is we've really kind of had to shift our experiential model as a company from in-person live experiences to at-home self-care. And so we actually do provide free education that lives on YouTube, so trainers can learn how to cue their clients for self-care. So if I'm a trainer, I could hand the Hypervolt to my client standing 6 feet away, of course, and be able to cue my client through a release using the Hypervolt on themselves. And so I think that's really easy to do. But again, kind of touching back into Raphael's first question, is you're just developing so much value for yourself as a trainer. It's, yeah, you know, I can kick your butt 2 or 3 days a week in the gym, but what can I do to help you recover a little bit better and feel good throughout the day and be ready to go for our next workout tomorrow? And having those resources and these tools on hand are so important in doing that.
Yeah, I love it, man. Another one here from Kim, I thought it was a good question, came through. Thanks for sending, Kim. How would you differentiate muscle soreness from inflammation would be the first question. And then the second part to that is, how would you know whether to use ice or heat application depending on that?
Absolutely, yeah. So generally inflammation is going to come about when we have some sort of swelling or bruising in the muscle or on the skin, something of that sort, where muscle soreness is going to be a lot deeper in an anatomical sense, more muscular. A lot of times that's easy to tell from the client's perspective. You know, they generally know their bodies well enough from our experience that they can say, oh, I'm sore because of DOMS, or I'm sore because I sprained my ankle yesterday. And really what, in terms of the product application that we're looking at in those two instances, generally for injury and athletic rehab type scenarios, ice is going to be a more effective modality because it's going to reduce that inflammation and reduce that pain, where heat, on the other hand, is pretty much the exact opposite. So heat is going to promote blood flow to that area, which if, say, we sprained our ankle yesterday, we wouldn't want to apply heat to it because it's going to kind of increase that inflammation and increase that swelling. So it's actually going to make it worse. So really, I would say more muscular, soft tissue type recovery and not rehab. We're going to be looking more towards a heat or towards a vibration, percussion, compression, where for more of a swelling, inflammation, bruising, injury type scenario, more rehab type scenario, we're going to be looking more towards ice on that front.
Yeah, good answer. I love it. Another one, so hopefully that answers your question there, Kim. So another one came through from Daniel. So Daniel, your question was, you joined late. Will this be available to review for later? Yes. So if you go to PTA Global/events, PTA Global/events, all of these webinars are memorialized, which means you can access them on demand. So this one here will be posted probably late next week for you to access, and so you can tune in there. So I'm happy to field that one. The cost of tools, so it's going to vary. Alexandra was asking about how do we get them? What's the cost of tools? I love that question. And so following this this webinar will be an email sent to you that has a specific like discount code and specific links to access all of these tools. I think that'll also, Ryan had a question around how do we sell HyperIce retail through our gyms. And so would it be okay for Ryan to contact you directly, Andrew? I know the last slide is your contact info. Would that be okay?
Absolutely, yeah, Ryan. You could
Perfect.
reach out to me directly. Just so everyone knows, my email address is alee@hyperice.com. It's alee@hyperice.com. Or if you are more looking for kind of a different type of partnership, not necessarily just a wholesale retail partnership, you can go on to hyperice.com, and on the contact us page, there's an affiliate link that you can actually fill out your information about your business, and we can direct you to the correct salesperson or to the correct industry lead to be able to help you out.
Yeah, and I'll have both Andrew's and my contact information here up on the screen on the last slide, team. So you'll have that there if you don't have a paper and pen handy. Let's see. So Alexandra, I thought, had a good question. How do I get certified to use this? Is there a HyperIce certification or something I can get to get more education and certification specifically on HyperIce?
Certainly, that's a great question. Yes, but before I dive into that, one thing I would like to say is that all of the HyperIce products are class 1 devices, meaning they do not legally require a certification or a license to be able to use on someone or on yourself. That being said, we do want to ensure that every trainer, every person that picks up one of our products has at least a general understanding of the technology, as well as a basis of anatomical knowledge to know how to use it safely and effectively. We do have some free education. We have 2 courses. They're about 2.5 hours each. The first course is unique to the Viper and Hypersphere. So it's a vibration SMR course, learning how to use those particular products on every muscle group on the body. That is eligible for CEUs through NSCA, NASM, and AFAA. And then we also have a 2.
I think us too, man. PTA Global.
Yes, as of yesterday. I'm sorry, as of
That's
yesterday.
Right. That's right.
I forgot that we did just get that approval yesterday. And then we also have a Hyperbole specific course, again, about 2.5 hours long. Same idea. It's as a practitioner, here's exact application of the Hyperbole on every muscle group on the body. Again, accredited for CEUs by those organizations, but mainly our friends at PTA Global.
Love it, man. And just so you know, team, there is a direct link to that education and those courses on the follow-up email that you're going to receive, as well as the discount code from HyperIce on the products. And then we've given a little gift from PTA Global from us to you as well to get you up to speed on some of these, best practices around sales, service, science, the things that you may need to know, the things that your team may need to know, depending on, who that's directed to. So I think we'll do maybe one more question here. So this is a good one. So Daniel has a question. Does the course in using the Hypervolt teach how to use on different age clients and those with different injury or pain history?
That's a great question. The idea, kind of the theory behind Hypervolt application is going to be universal in the sense that it doesn't matter if you're working with an 18-year-old high school athlete or a 75-year-old active aging population. So generally the application is all going to be the same. We do not specify in the course in terms of different application in the short videos that are in there. But really the big thing is, as a practitioner, as a trainer that's applying the different modalities to your clients, we just want to be mindful of things that you mentioned, their age, their previous injury history, and things like that. We also do list contraindications in both videos, and they are printed on the back of retail boxes as well. So you can reference those. Generally speaking, though, contraindications are going to be fairly obvious for high intensity vibration. Basically, roughly the same contraindications that you would get from a hands-on massage.
Yeah, and Daniel, again, if you wanted more information on that, our NCCA accredited certification from PTA Global has a section on both youth training, a section on older populations training and special populations, as well as an entire section on self-myofascial release in general, contraindications. And so there's going to be a lot of additional information there that you can use to bolt on to the HyperIce education that you'll receive after this call. So you get a little 1-2 punch there. Perfect. Okay, and that's probably going to be an offline conversation. Some of these questions, I think they'll probably want to contact you directly, Andrew. And so some next steps for your team. You'll again get an email here shortly with those specific promo codes to help you access that education. If you're not currently following us, the team, this is how you find out what webinars are coming up next, what content you can give, what education to stay kind of plugged in and in the hub. So following both PTA Global and HyperIce on our Instagram, on our Facebook, right? Be a part of that community, our LinkedIn, YouTube. We've got hundreds of exercises, out there that are at your disposal that we've just given away for free content. And so want to make sure that you have a life resource in that. And at the end of the day, you got to use and apply. So the best thing you can do is get one of your own, start using it, figuring out how it works, what you like, what you dislike, and then instantly start applying those things with your clients to really get the results, right? Part of those 10 things, get the results that your clients are paying for. So again, I'll throw our information up here. Again, Andrew Lee, HyperIce, the man, the myth, the legend, A. Lee. Thank you for joining us, my friend. I so appreciate you, partner. I know you're crazy busy right now, and so I appreciate you taking the time to just pour into our community, to pour into these owners, operators, and trainers today that carved out the time for themselves to get better and for them to have the answers to the test for their members and clients. And so credit to you for attending today, team, and then thank you once more, Andrew, for your expertise and your time today, friend.
Yeah, thanks, Israel. I appreciate you guys having me. If anyone has any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Some other resources here last minute that you can access would be if you go to hyperice.com, we have a bunch of resources and more information on the website, or it's on all platforms of social media. It's at HyperIce, and we have a full YouTube channel as well with kind of instructional videos as well as product demonstrations and things of that sort. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you have anything else. Israel, appreciate you having me on, buddy. This is fun. Looking forward to doing it again sometime soon.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks, team. Have a great day. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Don't forget to wash those hands. Take care.